This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Good evening, Philippines, and good day, world. I'm Jayne Codnita. It's Thursday, the 10th of August, and you're watching Newsline World. We're here to bring you the top stories we've gathered from all over the globe. First, in the latest episode of Give Us This Day, Pastor Apollo reiterated that the Philippine interest should always come first amid the rising tensions on disputed waters. In the latest trade and tech war between superpowers, China responded to U.S. President Joe Biden's new anti-Beijing executive order on tech restrictions. In Africa, ousted Nigerian President Mohamed Bazoum raised fears of a possible all-out African war amid tensions between coup leaders and ECOWAS. In Ecuador, a prominent presidential candidate was shot dead days before election amid a sharp rise of organized crime in the said country. And hurricanes are fanning the apocalyptic flames that engulf the Hawaiian Paradise of Maui. These and more for tonight's edition of Newsline World. Pastor Apollo C. of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ has issued a call to all legislators. This is in relation to the upcoming investigation by the House of Representatives regarding the Manila Bay Reclamation Project. Here's the report by Jayne Codnita.
Halimbawa, senador ka o isa kang mababatas. Pag nag-decide ka sa isang issue, sariling utak mo. Hindi yung ikaw ay inuudyukan ng iba. Tapos magde-decide ka kung ano ang udyok nila sa iyo. Lalo na ibang bansa.
This is the appeal made by Pastor Apollo C. of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ to all legislators following the resolution filed in the House of Representatives to investigate the Manila Bay Reclamation Project. The House Resolution number 1171 filed by the ACT-CIS party list led by Congressman Erwin Tulfo urges the Committee on National Defense and Security, Committee on Ecology, and other appropriate committees to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation regarding the status of the Manila Bay Reclamation projects and its consequential effects on national security and the environment. The resolution was submitted following a U.S. Embassy report saying that the China Communications Construction Company, the company involved in the reclamation operation in Manila Bay, is blacklisted in the U.S. due to alleged fraudulent actions. The said company is owned by Beijing and is believed to be responsible for establishing air and naval bases for China in the West Philippine Sea.
May nag-uudyok sa iyo, tapos ginanong sinabi, tulad ditong sinabi dito, at nakakabuti sa ating interest na Pilipino, okay yun. Pero nag-uudyok, pagkatapos doon ka lang gagawa ng isang resolusyon kasi may nag-udyok sa iyong isang mas malakas na bansa at doon ka kumakampi, bias yun. Yes. Hindi ka tunay na Pilipino. Hindi ka tumatayo sa sarili mo. At hindi ka nagagamit ng sarili mong utak.
The good pastor emphasized that whatever issues the legislators discuss must always be for Philippine interest.
Bansa natin ang pinag-uusapan dito eh. Kaya tayo'y bumoto ng mga mababatas para sila ay tumayo sa sarili nilang paa at mag-isip sa sarili nilang pag-iisip patungkol sa issue na ito o kung anumang issue yung pinag-uusapan para sa interest ng Pilipino, hindi para sa pag-uudyok ng ibang bansa.
Amen.
Pagka ikaw ay sumunod sa udyok ng ibang bansa, tao ka nila. Ang interest nila ang iyong binabantayan, hindi ang sa atin. Binoto ka namin para dyan? Hindi. Walang interest na pinag-uusapan dito kung hindi atin.
Meanwhile, the good pastor has an advice for all Filipino lawmakers.
Pag-aralan mo yung issue, ano, reclamation. Mag-aral tayo ng sarili natin. Walang interference sa iba. Pag-aralan natin kung ano yung issue. Nakakabuti ba ito sa ating bansa o hindi? Bansang Pilipinas ang pinag-uusapan dito, hindi interest ng ibang bansa na naririto, kundi interest nating Pilipino.
Amen.
Yan ang dapat na palaging nasa ating pag-iisip. Opinion ko yun.
For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Jayne Codnita, SMNI News.
U.S. President Joe Biden issued a new anti-China executive order restricting the U.S. investments in Beijing technology. This earned a strong opposition from China, saying that Washington is depriving them of their right to develop. Let's find out more about the unfolding trade war between the two superpowers. Here's my report. In the early morning of Thursday, U.S. President Joe Biden signed a new executive order aimed at regulating new U.S. investments and expertise that supports China's development on sensitive technologies. The new executive order targets investment in semiconductors, microelectronics, quantum computing, information technologies, and artificial sectors in China. According to Biden, certain American investments may contribute to what he says is the development of sensitive technologies and products in countries that develop them to counter U.S. and allied capabilities. The U.S. president also said, and quotes, "I find that countries of concern are engaged in comprehensive, long-term strategies that direct, facilitate, or otherwise support advancements in sensitive technologies and products that are critical to such countries' military, intelligence, surveillance, or cyber-enabled capabilities." End of quote. The new executive order is expected to be implemented next year. It will also require outbound U.S. investors to provide notifications to the U.S. Treasury Department. The measure also calls Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen to define sensitive technologies and products in these categories for purposes of the prohibition and the notification requirement. Meanwhile, China slammed the United States' actions, saying that it strongly deplores and firmly opposes the single-minded announcement of restrictions on investments in Beijing by Washington and has made serious demarche to the U.S. side. A spokesperson for the Chinese Foreign Ministry said that Washington's move to restrict U.S. companies' investment in China with national security as a front is a clear act of overstretching the concept of security and politicizing business engagement. The ministry spokesperson further said, and quote, "This is blatant economic coercion and tech bullying, an act that seriously violates the principles of market economy and fair competition, undermines the international economic and trading order, destabilizes global industrial and supply chains, and hurts the interests of both China and the U.S. and the global business community. This is deglobalization and a move to phase China out." End of quote. China's foreign ministry also reminded that Biden made a commitment to not seek to decouple from China or reduce China's economic development. To this, China urges the U.S. to follow through with their commitment and to stop politicizing, instrumentalizing, and weaponizing technology and trade issues. China said it will closely follow the developments of Biden's new executive order and that it will resolutely safeguard its rights and interests. Reporting, this has been Jayne Codnita, SMNI News. Beijing's top diplomat will visit 3 Southeast Asian countries this week in an aim to boost strategic communication with ASEAN member states. Anissa de Guzman has the details.
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi will embark on a 4-day diplomatic tour to Southeast Asia by visiting Singapore, Malaysia, and Cambodia this week. According to the Chinese Foreign Ministry, Wang is scheduled to visit Singapore from August 10 to 11 at the invitation of Minister for Foreign Affairs Vivian Balakrishnan. The trip will be followed with a trip to Malaysia and Cambodia until Sunday. The 3 countries were among China's top targets to engage in its massive Belt and Road Initiative, an infrastructure project that aims to connect Asia with Africa and Europe via land and maritime networks. The ASEAN has also been China's biggest trading partner since 2020, wherein bilateral trade has jumped to $975.3 billion in 2022. Wang Yi's visit to the region comes as China prepares to host its 3rd Belt and Road Forum later this year after a 4-year hiatus. Di siya Anissa de Guzman, Rangan Chakuntep Mahanakon, SMNI News, Pratethay, Sawadika.
A thorough examination is necessary for every step the Philippine government takes on the disputed territory issue in the South China Sea. This was clarified by Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy in the latest episode of Give Us This Day program on Thursday. According to the good pastor, officials should set aside personal interests I promote only those that benefit all Filipinos. Let's find out more about this with MJ Mondejar's report.
Today to all the children.
Everyone has their own interest. This is the opinion of Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ, as shared in the Give Us His Day program when asked about his thoughts on the recent water cannon incident in the Ayungin Shoal. This incident prompted China to again call for the removal of the BRP Sierra Madre, a Philippine ship stationed in the Ayungin Shoal since 1999. In response, President Bongbong Marcos said he was not aware of any such arrangement or agreement that the Philippines will remove from its own territory its ship. And if such an agreement exists, then he will overturn it. For his side, the good pastor said that each is advancing its own interest, leading to misunderstandings in the contested territories of the South China Sea.
For me, my own opinion for this is that all of the parties involved have their own interest. Everybody is working for its own interest, whether personal interest or national interest or geopolitical interest. Like, for example, we have our own Philippine interest. China has its own Chinese national interest. America has its own geopolitical interest. That's why they are here. So those contrasting interests are the ones that are now in conflict with each other. So it's a very long discussion and very long dissertation or narrative if we want to discuss it.
Meanwhile, Pastor Apollo reiterated his call for the elected officials of the country not to rush into decisions regarding the issue of disputed territories in the South China Sea. It is necessary, he said, to first study the potential consequences of their actions. This comes in response to the statement of Senate President Mig Zubiri, who suggested the cancellation or boycott of all government projects involving Chinese companies, especially those owned by the Chinese government, following the incident at the Ayungin Shoal.
I think it's going too far. Kaya sinabi ko, huwag mo na magpabugso-bugso ng mga desisyon. Pag-isipan at pag-aralang mabuti bago tayo gumawa ng mga hakbang o desisyon na makakabuti ba ito sa ating bansa o makakasama in the long term.
Amen.
Kasi pag tayo nagde-decide at tayo galit, makamali ang desisyon natin. Kaya pagbulay-bulayin muna, pag-isipan at pag-aralang mabuti ang mga consequences o ang mga magiging resulta ng ating mga desisyon. Yun ang pinakamagandang gawin muna.
Pastor Apollo further emphasized that the interests of Filipinos should be promoted in any decision or action taken by the government.
So huwag tayong magde-decide pagka tayo ay mapusok at galit. Pag-isipan, pag-aralan, pagbulay-bulayin, kasi ang ating interest dito kung ano ang ikabubuti ng ating bansa.
Amen.
So huwag tayong masyadong bias dito, huwag tayong masyadong bias doon. Nasa gitna tayo. We are not working for Chinese interest, for American interest. We are working for Filipino interest.
For God and my beloved Philippines, MJ Mondejar, SMNI News.
The rising cost of living in the United States prompted thousands of workers in Los Angeles to stage a strike demanding better pay. More of this report from Carlo de la Peña.
Over 11,000 city workers in Los Angeles, United States walked off their jobs and staged a 24-hour strike demanding better pay to offset the rising cost of living. Service Employees International Union Local 721, the largest public sector union in Southern California, said in a Facebook post that it staged a one-day walkout over unfair labor practice. The strike disrupted public services. Trash cans weren't emptied, delaying refused pick-up by one day for the rest of the week. Inflation, soaring prices, and a sharp increase in the cost of living were the main causes of the strike.
Feeling all the effects, right, whether it be housing or even just going to the groceries, and our wages have maintained stagnant.
Los Angeles, there's inflation, everything costs more.
In recent weeks, the U.S. has seen an unprecedented surge of union activities and strikes across multiple industries. The early headline grabbers were the ongoing dual strike of the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, representing about 160,000 actors and workers in television and film, and the Writers Guild of America, representing about 11,500 screenwriters. Reporting, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
A man who posted threats against the President of the United States was killed in an FBI raid in Provo, Utah. Verhil Parva has the details.
A criminal complaint was filed against Craig Robertson, a man who posted on Facebook threats against U.S. President Joe Biden and other officials. U.S. investigative officers said that Robertson, who is said to be in his 70s and a Trump supporter, was booked on 3 charges, including threats against the president. Reports also say that Robertson owned a sniper rifle and other firearms. Following this, FBI agents attempted to serve an arrest warrant to Robertson in Utah at about 6:15 local time. Afterwards, Robertson was reportedly killed, with no more details issued by the FBI. Authorities said they take all shooting incidents involving their agents or task force members seriously, and the incident is currently under the review of their inspection division. It can be noted that the incident happened ahead of Biden's visit to Utah on Thursday to a veterans hospital and a fundraising event in Park City. Biden was also reportedly briefed by authorities on the matter. According to an affidavit written by investigators, FBI agents visited Robertson in March after he posted a threat against Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan District Attorney leading an investigation into a hush money payment by former President Donald Trump on the social media platform Truth Social. During their visit, Robertson told the FBI that his Facebook post was a dream. He would also not speak to the agents and said, quote, "We're done here. Don't return without a warrant," end of quote. Robertson also seemingly made threats and hate posts against former U.S. President Barack Obama in 2012. Reporting this has been Verhil Parva, SMNI News.
A presidential candidate in Ecuador was shot dead just days before the first round of presidential elections was set to take place. Sara Santos files this report.
On Wednesday, anti-corruption presidential candidate Fernando Villavicencio was assassinated at a campaign rally in the Ecuadorian capital, Quito. This was confirmed by Ecuador's current president, President Guillermo Lasso. The deadly incident took place as 59-year-old Villavicencio was about to leave the said campaign event. Minutes before being shot, the presidential candidate was giving a speech. A member of his campaign team said Villavicencio was getting into a car when a man stepped forward and shot him in the head. Reports say that he was shot a total of 3 times. At least 9 people were injured, including 2 police officers and the suspect who was shot during an exchange of bullets with security. The suspect later died from injuries sustained during the shootout, which led to his capture. Later, Ecuador's Attorney General's office said 6 people had been arrested during raids in Quito. Videos on social media show supporters inside the building in panic and diving for cover while gunshots were being fired. Before the incident, Villavicencio, a serving congressman and a former journalist, had been outspoken about corruption and the violence caused by drug trafficking that is now gripping Ecuador. To note, Villavicencio is married with 5 children. He was also one of 8 candidates in the first round of the elections, which is set to take place on the 20th of August, though not the front runner. As of now, the Ecuadorian prosecutor's office said Villavicencio's body had been transferred to a morgue for an autopsy, and an investigation has been launched to look into the attack. Meanwhile, President Guillermo Lasso vowed the crime would not go unpunished and has declared a state of emergency for the entire country, as well as 3 days of national mourning. This is Sara Santos reporting, SMNI News.
The south of France is the hottest and driest region of the country and regularly battles droughts as well as wildfires. But other parts of the country are drying out too. Here's more with CGTN's Ross Cullen.
Jean-Christophe Ruffin checks the beetroots on his farm. It's one of the crops he grows to feed his livestock. The weather is crucial for farmers, but it's increasingly hard to forecast, and dry spells are having a more and more significant impact.
Climate change is real and we can see it. Harvest dates are a little earlier in the calendar than when we were young. Compared with 30 years ago, the harvest is now taking place 15 days earlier.
Increasingly frequent dry winters are exacerbating the water storage situation in the north, meaning some farmers are having to change their practices.
We have to adapt because our working environment, our factory, is all you can see out here. It's nature. So we're adapting a little. We're going to change our tillage practices a little. We're trying to keep the soil moist in case of spring droughts like this year.
Diversification is one way to manage, and alongside the beetroot, Jean-Christophe grows wheat, potatoes and maize. In the sheds, his herd is fed on the food he grows on site. These cows produce milk for market, and he also raises chickens for meat.
The north is one of the wettest regions in France, but even here they're starting to see the impact of increased winter and summer droughts.
This area of France is border country. Belgium is just a couple of kilometres away. It's a heavily populated area with a growing number of houses and widespread industry using huge quantities of water. Agriculture is also a major consumer of water. As more areas of France deal with the impacts of unseasonal dry spells, how to manage water use in the future is a major point of discussion.
We must all pay attention to water. I think we also need to harvest rainwater when it falls a lot. When it falls too much, we could collect it in basins to allow it to slowly enter the water table and recharge underground storage.
Another impact of climate change is that the regularity of the seasons is changing. It's becoming increasingly hard for farmers like Jean-Christophe to predict rainfall, plus sudden winds can blow in, and France is starting to witness longer, more intense droughts in more and more areas of the country. Ross Cullen, CGTN, Bétigny, Northern France.
The fast-moving wildfires across the Hawaiian island of Maui killed 36 people within 48 hours, while dozens of structures were damaged and destroyed in the deadly onslaught. Sasha Hasa has the details.
Residents in Maui were expecting rain and floods after they were told to prepare for a passing hurricane. But instead, they were surprised with deadly blazes that forced some people to jump into the ocean after the popular tourist spot transformed into a raging inferno in a matter of hours. The wildfires fueled by Hurricane Dora forced thousands of people to evacuate their homes, with 5 evacuation shelters open to evacuate them. Hospitals in Maui has been overwhelmed with patients being treated with burns and people suffering from smoke inhalation. A state of emergency has been declared. Firefighters are still battling active fires while a huge search and rescue operation is underway. There were 3 active wildfires burning in the Big Island, including one that destroyed the historic town of Lahaina to the ground. At least 4,000 tourists were still trying to leave Western Maui, according to the Hawaii Department of Transportation. Officials have warned the death toll may rise, while the true extent of the damage caused by the wildfire is still unknown. Reporting from Sydney, this has been Sasha Hasa, SMNI News, Australia.
A sudden military leadership shakeup happened in North Korea, and its leader Kim Jong-un for more arms production in preparation for war. Sela Yoon reports.
Kim Jong-un fired his top military general and ordered officials to prepare for the possibility of war. The statement was said by Kim in a Central Military Commission meeting where they discussed plans in facing rival countries. Park Soo-second, a chief of the North Korean military's general staff, was replaced by General Ri Yong-gi, who held the position of the North's defense minister and top military troop commander. According to the report, Kim is eyeing expanding Pyongyang's weapon production. Last week, the North Korean leader visited the weapon factory, where he ordered to increase in the production of missile engines, artillery, and other weapons. A picture released by North Korean state media KCNA shows Kim pointing to a map depicting Seoul and places around South Korea. It can be recalled that the United States accused North Korea of providing weapons to Russia for its war with Ukraine. This includes artillery shells, rockets, and missiles. Pyongyang and Moscow denied the accusation. Kim ordered his military to perform the drills using North Korea's new weapons to keep their forces ready for war. North Korea will have a militia parade this September 9 in celebration of the 75th anniversary of the establishment of the country, officially called as Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or DPRK. Meanwhile, the United States are scheduled to perform military drills with South Korea on August 21st to August 24th. Seoul, Isabela, SMNI News, South Korea.
A warship and a destroyer owned by the Indian Navy arrived in Dubai to conduct a bilateral exercise with the UAE Naval Force, Gratero Mori reports.
The UAE and India aims to strengthen their maritime partnership through a joint military drill. The two ships arrived at Port Rashid in Dubai as they prepare for bilateral exercise Zayed Talwar. The military vessels will stay in Dubai from August 8 to August 11. The exercise aims to enhance interoperability and synergy between the two navies. The strategic ties between the UAE and India grew stronger with the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to UAE in August 2015. Both countries have diplomatic exchanges and regularly made port calls to enhance bilateral defense cooperation since their bilateral ties were formally established in 1972. Reporting from Dubai, this has been Gratero Mori, SMNI News, United Arab Emirates.
Iran revealed it has acquired technology to build supersonic missiles days after the U.S. troops entered the Red Sea. Milkasidek Cadiz reports.
Assalamualaikum. Just 2 months after unveiling its first ever hypersonic missile to the world, Iran announced it has the necessary technology to develop a supersonic cruise missile. Local media linked to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said the testing of supersonic missile marks the beginning of a new chapter in the defense power of Iran. The Islamic Republic made the announcement after U.S. deployed more than 3,000 U.S. sailors and Marines to the Gulf to counter Iran's alleged seizures of foreign vessels, to which Tehran said some are possibly involved to smuggling. In June, Iran unveiled its first hypersonic missile named Fatah. Hypersonic means the projectile can move at a speed greater than 5 times the speed of sound. Meanwhile, supersonic missiles represent a vast category of projectiles capable of flying faster than the speed of sound, making them harder to detect and shoot down by air defense systems. Iran has not yet confirmed when the missile could potentially finish its testing phase and officially unveiled to the world. Barakallahu fikum jami'an, kan hada Melchizedek Cadiz Akhbar SMNI.
One of Thailand's most popular political parties is making efforts to expand its alliance in its attempt to form a new government and break the ongoing political deadlock 3 months after the general election. Chatmongkon Pisamay Gason reports.
Pheu Thai successfully gained the support of 6 more parties, although it is still short of required number of seats to secure enough majority. The entry of the 6 more political parties into the alliance lifted the total number of House seats from 212 seats to 228 seats. The other parties agreeing to join the coalition are Pracha Chat, Pheu Thai Rwam Phalang, Chat Patana Kla, Phalang Sangkom Mai, Seri Rwam Thai, and Thong Tin Thai Party. The 8-party coalition, however, is still short of 23 seats of the 251 required for a simple majority in the 500-seat House. Moreover, the coalition needs at least 375 votes from the combined House and Senate to elect a new Prime Minister. The alliance with the 6 parties took place after Pheu Thai forged partnership with the conservative Phum Jai Thai, the 3rd largest party in the country's lower house that won 71 seats on May 14. Pheu Thai, the party with the 2nd highest of votes during the election, broke alliance with election winner Move Forward Party earlier this month amid uncertainties over its party leader Pitalim Jalonrat as the next Prime Minister of Thailand. In a recent update, a 9 political party pledged to support Pheu Thai in forming a new government. A lawmaker from a rival party said his group will join the alliance, hence increasing the coalition's seats in the lower house to 238. รายงานจากราชบุรี นายชัดมงคลมิตรสมัยโกศล SMNI News ประเทศไทย สวัสดีครับ
The House of Representatives has started dissecting the proposed 5.6 trillion pesos national budget. MJ Mondihar has the details.
And pass the national budget on time.
The House of Representatives has commenced the analysis of the proposed 5.678 trillion peso budget for the year 2024. To elucidate the planned expenditure of the national funds, economic managers of the administration appeared before the House of Representatives. Representatives from the Budget Department, Department of Finance, NEDA, and Central Bank were all present. According to the Department of Budget and Management, the budget next year will be 9.5% higher compared to this year's 5.268 trillion budget. But where will the Philippines source such a huge amount? The economic managers explained that the funds will come from the government's tax collection. It will also come from the earnings of government-owned and controlled corporations or GOCCs. This includes the earnings of PAGCOR, PCSO, and other GOCCs. And if necessary, as a last resort, the government will consider borrowing to complete the required budget. But Finance Secretary Benjamin Jokna assured that the government's revenue collection is now currently robust. Thus, they believe that borrowing may not be necessary for the time being.
The total revenues as of the end of June is 1.86 trillion. And tax revenue is 1.657 trillion. Non-tax revenues is 203 trillion.
As against target, are we on track?
Oh, we're much higher. We're better than the program, Your Honor.
So that we won't resort to borrowings?
No, Your Honor. We're ahead of the collection.
According to the latest update from the Bureau of Treasury, the Philippine government's debt from onshore and offshore creditors has reached 14.15 trillion pesos. Speaker Martin Romualdez has given the House of Representatives 5 weeks to scrutinize and approve the national budget. Simultaneously, the leadership assures that the deliberations will be open and the voices of the minority in the House will be heard.
Sisiguruhin natin na may pasa natin ang 2024 General Appropriations Bill sa loob ng 5 linggo. 4 na linggo sa komite at 1 linggo sa plenaryo.
The House leadership has also confidence that the national budget will be completed on time. This is notably 20 days ahead of the constitutional deadline. The administration assures that the utilization of public funds will be accurate.
Obligasyon po natin na tiyakin na bawat sentimong buwis na ibinayad ng ating mga kababayan ay magagamit ng tama at nararapat. Bawat sentimo nila may serbisyong kapalit mula sa gobyerno.
Next week will be a busy one at the House of Representatives for the continuation of the deliberations for the 2024 proposed national budget. For Ganamable of Philippines, MJ Mondihar, SMNI News.
Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy called corrupt government officials a hindrance to the food security of the country. This follows the concerns voiced out by some agricultural groups over fears of rice shortage that could potentially happen in the country in the coming months. Daniela Paulite has the details.
Isa lang ang solusyon yan basta wala lang mga self-interest at corruption. Napakalawak pa ng ating lupain sa Pilipinas. Kung ang gobyerno lang ay talagang sincero sa food security natin. Pagtuunan ng pansin yung agriculture, alisin ang lahat ng balakid, alisin ang lahat ng mga kumukontra sa mga farmers, at alisin ang lahat ng mga paninikil sa mga farmers. Yung may lupa, suportahan at tulungan ang ating pamahalaan upang lalo tayong makapagtanim ng napakaraming mga lupa na mapatiman ng bigas, ng palay.
This is what Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy said about the issue of food security in the country. According to Pastor Apollo, the Philippine agricultural sector, especially local farmers, are suffering because of corrupt government officials and because of their greed. The government is forced to import rice from other countries.
Sumangkat tayo sa Vietnam, sumangkat tayo sa India, sa iba pang mga lugar. Ang lawak ng lupa natin. Only dito, kanya-kanya ang kanilang mga interest. Ginansya dito, ganansya doon. Mga smugglers dito, yung mga middleman dito. Kawawa yung farmers. Yung kanilang mga produkto, napakamura na lang. Pagkatapos, fertilizer pa, pesticide pa, at kung ano-ano pa. Pagkatapos, bibilhin lang ng middleman, napakaliit na presyo. Kung yung lahat ng balakid na yan, aalisin ng ating pamahalaan through the power and authority of the government, masuportahan ang lahat ng farmers na gustong magtanim at saka may babalik sa kanila ng husto ang kanilang puhunan at may ganansya pa.
The good pastor said the Philippines would further grow and develop if only the corrupt officials in some government agencies would stop pursuing their selfish interest.
Problema dito, corruption eh. Wala kang maasahang ahensya. Pag inasaan mo, binigyan ng authority, siguradong pansariling pera ang kanilang iniisip. Pero kung talagang magiging matuwid lang, sobra-sobrang pagkain natin, ang ganda ng ating bansang Pilipinas. Sobra-sobra, hindi na tayo angkat ng bigas. Baka tayo pang mag-export ng bigas sa ibang bansa. Dahil sobra-sobra ng bigas natin.
Meanwhile, Pastor Apollo has a suggestion to prevent the possible rice shortage in the country.
Para hindi magkaroon ng shortage, mag-aral na lang tayong kumain ng kamuti. Magtanim ng kamuting kahoy o kamote, yung sweet potato. O ugaliin natin na we will be less dependent on rice. Healthy pa. Diba?
In the end, Pastor Apollo believes that the Philippine government is doing everything that it can to ensure enough rice supply and that the President knows the necessary steps in resolving the matter.
Pero yung siniguro ng ating Pangulo na we have enough supply of rice, diba? So silang gagawa ng paraan yan. Marunong naman ang ating Pangulong Bongbong Marcos kung paano i-solve yan. Kasi siyang Agriculture Secretary natin at alam niya kung ano ang gagawin. So let's leave it to the President because he is the Agriculture Secretary even until now. And I think he has the wisdom as our President to really guide this nation towards food security.
For God and my beloved country, this has been Daniela Paulite, SMNI News.
The number of basic education lessons in the newly launched K-10 curriculum has been reduced compared to the current curriculum. Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte hope that the new program will provide a meaningful learning experience to students. More of this report from Jason Rubrico.
The Department of Education, or DepEd, launched the Matatag curriculum, or the new K-10 curriculum, in the K-12 program, led by Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte. It took 2 years to complete the Matatag curriculum, according to DepEd. The new curriculum reduced the number of learning competencies, or things that children must learn, compared to the current curriculum. For more than 11,000 lessons, the content of the K-10 curriculum is only more than 3,600 lessons that focused on the students' literacy, numeracy, and social-emotional skills.
70% of the competencies in the current curriculum have been taken out of the new curriculum or the Matatag curriculum simply because there are competencies that repeat. Number two, that there are competencies that are only nice to know but not a must to know.
There are only 5 subjects in grade 1, including reading and literacy, language, mathematics, makabansa, and good manners and right conduct, or GMRC, while in grade 2, there are Filipino, English, math, makabansa, and GMRC. The subject mother tongue was also removed, while science was added in grade 3. While in grades 4 to 10, there are 8 subjects. The K-10 also included peace education, which according to Vice President Duterte, holds a place in her heart.
This next feature holds a very special place in my heart. The new K-10 curriculum will integrate peace competencies, highlighting the promotion of nonviolent actions and the development of conflict resolution skills in our learners. For after all, there is security if there is peace.
Among the things students will learn under peace education are self-awareness, social responsibility, community resilience, human security, and disaster risk reduction.
All these are really meant to make our children and our learners be aware that they have to seek peaceful resolutions to conflicts even in the classroom.
DepEd said that a pilot implementation of the K-10 curriculum will be conducted this school year in some selected schools, while its full implementation will be implemented throughout the Philippines in phases.
We are optimistic that this will provide our children with a meaningful learning experience that will boost their intelligence, improve their knowledge, enhance their skills and talents, and prepare them to become well-rounded, mature individuals.
For God and my beloved Philippines, I am Jason Rubrico, SMNI News.
Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy defends Vice President and Education Secretary Inday Sara Duterte against the criticism of ACT Teachers party list. The good pastor also challenged ACT teachers to expose recruitment of the terrorist New People's Army or NPA among the youth. Hannah Jane Sancho has the details.
Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ reiterated his unwavering trust in Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte's request for 150 million pesos confidential fund for the Department of Education and the Office of the Vice President. In the August 10th episode of the program Give Us This Day, Pastor Apollo explained that the Vice President needs this funding to fulfill her duties.
Hindi niya hihingi niyo kundi mahalaga. Sapagkat ito ay kinakailangan para sa kanyang panunungkulan bilang Education Secretary at Vice President ng ating bansa.
The issue broke out when Alliance of Concerned Teachers, or ACT Party List Representative Franz Castro, criticized Vice President Sara, saying that the requested amount could reach 650 million pesos and could potentially become a pork barrel. Castro then suggested reallocating the funds to the Philippine Coast Guard to counter foreign intrusions in our territory. However, according to the Office of the Vice President, the decision rests with the legislator and not with Franz Castro.
Matuwid ang ating Vice President. Hindi ito gagamitin sa kabulastugan at hindi ito gagamitin sa kahibangan lang o sa korupsyon. Alam ko rin yun kasi naging mayor natin siya dito at matuwid ang kanyang pamamahala. Kaya't naihalal natin siya bilang Vice President. Napakataas ng kanyang boto, mas mataas pa sa boto ng Presidente.
Meanwhile, the good pastor questioned Castro's outcry and pointed out why the legislator remains quiet about the recruitment activities of the New People's Army or NPA among the youth.
Bakit concerned si Franz Castro dito sa OBP o Secretary of Education budget? Bakit napaka-concern mo dito? Sabi mo, kailangan ibigay ito sa PCG. Philippine Coast Guard. Yung Philippine Coast Guard, binombahan ng tubig ng China. Tubig lang. Wala namang namatay. Yung leftist group ninyo na itinatanggi ninyo na may kaugnayan kayo sa CPP, NPA, NDF, yun dapat ang pagtuunan mo ng pansin. Kung ilan ang pinapatay, hindi water cannon ang binubuga sa atin ng NPA. Di ba? Water cannon bang binubuga ng NPA sa atin? Hindi. Bala. Yes. Gasolina, panununog. At pagpatay. Bakit hindi mo binabanggit yun, Franz Castro? Congresswoman ka. Bakit di mo binabanggit ang kabulastugan ng CPP, NPA, NDF? Kulang pa nga yung budget na yan sa ating Vice President sa pagmamanman para walang maging recruit na naman sa mga estudyante papuntang bundok at maging NPA. Kasi recruitment ang ginagawa ninyo.
Pastor Apollo again dared the legislature to reveal the recruitment activities of the NPA among the youth.
Hinahamon kitang muli. I-mention mo ang kabulastugan ng NPA at sabihin mo sa gobyerno, dagdagan ang budget sa education kasi yan ang nagbabantay sa mga estudyante na hindi na marirecruit ng CPP, NPA, NDF para pumunta ng bundok at pagkatapos turuang pumatay.
Another important aspect that Castro should clarify is the destination of the funds collected by her group from teachers.
Yung collection ninyo sa mga teachers sa inyong ginagamit.
Yun.
May budget kayo, kino-collection ninyo sa mga teachers for how many years na. Liwanagin mo sa taong bayan kung saan yung ginagamit yun. Kasi mabusisi ka sa budget ng OBP, Confidential Fund. Yung sa inyo, more than confidential, hindi nyo sinasabi kung saan ginagamit eh. Itong sa OBP o anumang ahensya ng gobyerno, may COA eh. May COA-ang tumitingin. Sa inyo wala eh. Walang kakowa-kowa kayo eh. So, saan nyo ginagamit yung kinokolekta ninyo sa mga guro? Ang iba, maaaring voluntary. Ang iba naman, maaaring pinipilit ninyo. Hindi natin alam. Pero kumukolekta kayo, yun ang alam natin. So, ibigay mo nga ang information sa publiko, Ms. Franz Castro.
To recall, several cadres of CPP, NPA, NDF have revealed that alleged connection between the ACT Teachers Party List and the said terrorist group. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Hannah Jayne Sancho, SMNI News.
The BS Psychology students of Jose Maria College Foundation Incorporated obtained a 100% passing rate in the recent 2023 psychometrician's licensure examination. Because of this, the scholars who passed extended their immense gratitude to Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy, the founder of the school, for the privilege he provided that led to their success. Trisha Manila tells us more.
Once again, Jose Maria College Foundation Incorporated, under the leadership of Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy, proudly showcased the banner of quality education that the institution upholds. This comes after JMC achieved a 100% passing rate in the recent 2023 psychometrician's licensure examination. The success reflects the dedication and excellence of the school in preparing its students for their profession. 8 students from the BS Psychology Department of JMC successfully passed the examination, including Hannah Joy Bedico, Juvie Bilyeza, Rose Kate Bermejo, Jadel May Cal, Maria Divine Diolas, Donna May Habacon, Austin Blue Maxi, and Faith Momo. According to the Professional Regulation Commission, 6,133 examinees have passed out of a total of 8,370 examinees, yielding a passing rate of 73.27%. Moreover, 2 gifted education scholars and students of JMC who were under the care of Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy were among those who passed the aforementioned examination. These students also extended their utmost gratitude to the good pastor.
It says, "Dear Pastor, with immense joy and gratitude, the Children's Joy Foundation Incorporated, or CJFI, would like to share the success of the 2 full-time miracle workers and also a recipient of the gift of education of the appointed son, Ana Maria T. Malabanan, RPM, and Rose Kate Bermejo, RPM, for passing the August 1st to 2nd, 2023 psychometrician licensure examination as declared by the Professional Regulation Commission just yesterday, Wednesday, August 9, 2023. Pastor, your unwavering guidance has led them to these incredible achievements, and for this they are forever grateful to you, Pastor. Your wisdom, support, and boundless love have shaped them into the person that they are today. Your mentorship goes beyond academic pursuits, making you the greatest mentor we could ever hope for."
Pastor Apollo was delighted by this news, as it reflects his aspiration to provide quality and free education for the youth of the nation.
May the Father bless the Jose Maria College and the Children's Joy Foundation gift of education, GoEP students who have finished some courses in the JMC. May the Father bless you.
To recall, the JMCFI, or Jose Maria College Foundation Incorporated, established by Pastor Apollo, also showcased its excellence in the recent bar examinations, where it secured the 3rd spot among first-time takers. Throughout the years, JMCFI has stood as a shining example of providing high-quality and exceptional education to its students, and it is through modern training, state-of-the-art facilities, and the dedication of its teachers, led by its founder, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy. Furthermore, JMCFI has demonstrated an unparalleled commitment to preparing and teaching their students and ensuring they are well-equipped for their journey toward success. Reporting, this has been Trisha Molina, SMNI News.
In the latest episode of the Give Us This Day program, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy says he believes that the supply of minerals like uranium, gold, and diamonds is the reason why many countries are now meddling in Niger's coup d'etat compared to Mali, Burkina Faso, and Chad. Pastor Apollo also highlighted the possibility of a war in Africa if the situation in Niger continues. Sarah Santos has more on this report.
On July 26th, there was a coup d'etat in the country of Niger, and Mohamed Bazoum was removed as the democratically elected president of the country. General Abdurrahman Chiani of the Presidential Guard then elected himself as the country's new leader. This prompted the United States, France, the United Nations, and the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, to meddle in the country's affairs. To recall, other countries such as Mali, Burkina Faso, and Chad had a coup d'etat ahead of the one in Niger. However, in a statement on the latest episode of Give Us This Day on Thursday, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy believes that the abundant supply of uranium, gold, diamonds, and other mineral resources in Niger is the reason why foreign governments are paying more attention to the said country's current situation.
So, nangyari na yung mga, yung mga kudita ng Mali, kudita ng yung bansa na yun. Ganda yung pangalan eh. Burkina Faso, Mali, Burkina Faso, Chad. Puro nauna na nagkudita yan eh, hindi pinapansin. Kaya ang Niger, nagkudita. Bakit lahat nakatuon sa Niger? Sabi pa nung isang columnist nila doon, bakit? Kasi ang Niger maraming uranium, maraming gold, maraming diamonds, maraming mga minerals na pwede pang pakinabangan. In fact, ang France doon kumukuha ng uranium supply nila for their nuclear plants o kung ano-ano pa. Pero yung daw Mali, Chad at saka Burkina Faso, hubos na daw ang mineral. Kaya hindi na pinansin. Ngayon, nagkakagulo sila sa Niger because Niger has still that abundant supply of materials that they need. Yun ang narinig ko, ha? Totoo nga siguro.
It can be remembered that ECOWAS gave a 7-day deadline to reinstate President Mohamed Bazoum, something which Niger's coup leaders rejected. In response, Niger also closed their airspace. According to Pastor Apollo, there is a brewing war in Africa.
At saka ang ngayon, ang sa ECOWAS, yung sa economic cooperation between West African states, ECOWAS. Ito yung 15 nations na gustong sumalakay ngayon sa Niger para si Mr. Bazoum, yung president nilang na-depose, ay maibalik. Kaya ngayon, nagigirian na sila ngayon, binigyan sila ng taning na 7 days para i-reinstate si Mr. Bazoum as the elected president na na-depose because of coup d'etat. Pero the Niger coup d'etat leaders are very firm in their stand na hindi sila papayag. Kinlos nga yung airspace nila. At itong ECOWAS nations under the leadership of Nigeria, si Mr. Tabubo ba yun? Paul Ahmed Tinubu. Marag Pilipino ang apelido. They want to invade and they want to wage war against Niger. They were given a deadline of 7 days. 7 days is over. I don't know what will happen next. But, you know, there is a brewing war in Africa if this goes on.
Recently, coup leaders announced the new government they had formed for Niger, and ECOWAS is currently meeting in the Nigerian capital of Abuja for their next steps. Meanwhile, the good pastor is praying for Niger and all of Africa.
So, idalangin na lang natin magkaroon ng kapayapaan sa lugar na yan at para din sa kabutihan ng mga taga-riyan. We'll just pray for the Africans that they could settle this peacefully, and that our prayer is for the Africans to really develop by themselves.
For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Sarah Santos, SMNI News.
Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy's cautions of a brewing war in Africa could possibly happen amid alarming tensions in the said continent. In fact, an ex-presidential aide of ousted leader Mohamed Bazoum raised a potential all-out African war if a military intervention would happen in Niger. Here's my report. An intervention by the ECOWAS in Niger risks a conflict on a continental scale. This is what Antenecar al-Hassan, ousted leader Mohamed Bazoum's ex-presidential aide, said in a Russian media interview on Wednesday. According to al-Hassan, and I quote, "I don't think ECOWAS will make the mistake of intervening militarily in Niger, because if they intervene militarily, that means all of Africa will be at war." It can be remembered that various countries, including Burkina Faso and Mali, promised to come to Niger's defense, saying that any foreign intervention in the country would be considered as a declaration of war against them. Bazoum was arrested on July 26 by Nigerian military men led by General Abdurrahman Tiani. This prompted ECOWAS to threaten Niger that they will deploy troops unless Bazoum is reinstated, but their deadline expired on Sunday. ECOWAS also closed borders and stopped all transactions and trade with Niger. But al-Hassan said he is against such sanctions, calling them illegal and illegitimate. Meanwhile, French broadcaster RFI reported that ECOWAS was building a force of about 25,000 troops, and most of them were from Niger's neighboring country, Nigeria. Niger, on the other hand, accused France of setting free terrorists so that they could attack a military camp in the country, and of violating Nigerian airspace as part of their destabilization efforts. France denied the claims and promised to keep their 1,500 French troops in the Sahel region. Reporting, this has been Jayne Codnita, SMNI News. And before we end, may you be inspired with the message of the appointed Son of God. I have faith that whatever the Father says will happen. And that's all for today's edition of Newsline World. For more news update, you may visit SMNINewsChannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Jayne Codnita. Thank you for watching Newsline World, and thank you to our beloved pastor, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy, for the opportunity to be part of this program. May you continue to listen to SMNI as it delivers nothing but fair, truthful, and balanced news, because SMNI is your source of